Hello, and welcome to another episode of Hacking with Friends. Today, as you might guess from the giant question that's on the bottom of our screen, myself and Michael are going to be answering a variety of different questions we've gotten from the community. So, my name is Kody Kinsey. If you haven't been on the show before, I do another show called Nullbyte. I contribute on Hak5, and I also host the SecurityFWD channel. And this is Michael. He is our production manager and another security researcher who's going to be helping to answer your questions today. So if you are live with us, we are actually 100% fully, authentically live today. And we are also going to be answering questions from the chat. So please say hi if you are in any of our chats, and hopefully we'll be able to answer some of your questions if you've got any good ones. Michael, are you ready to answer some questions today?
Yeah.
Awesome.
You ready to start?
Yes, let's take a look at the first one.
I'm actually going to scroll back through some of these real quick.
Okay. All right. So while Michael's doing that, I should also mention the source of this. So we go back through the SecurityFWD YouTube channel every week, and we take a look at the questions you guys have asked. And sometimes we'll reply directly in the comments, but we also like to reply on the stream just so all of you get the benefit of hearing the answer when the questions are really good. So some of these questions we are grabbing from the YouTube channel, and some of these questions we are grabbing from the darkest place I know.
Which actually caused me to have some of my issues, but we're good to go now.
So the darkest place I know to pull questions from is my Twitter mention, or my Twitter messages that aren't from people I know. So these are the messages that, like, I'm going to say 50% of them...
Bro, can you hack my girlfriend's account?
Are like requests for exceedingly specific technical help, or requests for me to do something illegal for someone.
Yeah.
But interspersed there are some really excellent questions. So I dug through my recent Twitter messages as well as the SecurityFWD YouTube channel, and we picked a couple questions that we thought were really good and that we should actually answer. So let's take a look at some of the ones we got today. And also hello to Aniket and Salta in the chat. So, hey guys. So, bro, you mentioned IntelTechniques telephone search tool, but that page is shut down. Do you have any solution for this? Help me, please. So let's go over to my screen, and I want to show off what the problem here is and why people are upset about this. This is a super common question that we get. And if I type in, I'm Googling Google, IntelTech.
You might be old if the way you get to Google is
How
by Googling
do I get to Google? So I've done a number of different videos on different tools.
Bigger?
Yeah, on different tools that are related to IntelTechniques, which is by Mike Bazell, which is probably a pseudonym, but an awesome guy who is an ex-police trainer who now just teaches OSINT. And OSINT is open source intelligence techniques, and this guy is really experienced. He knows a lot about it, and his teaching style is also incredibly easy to follow. So whether you're grabbing a book or just listening to his podcast, there's lots of really incredible research techniques that are out there for investigators, hackers, journalists, really whoever is interested in this stuff. So he's really one of the best people in the business of OSINT. And anytime I've covered one of his tools, or anytime I've covered one of his methodologies, people really like it. But the problem here is people like, kind of point and click tools that allow you to just, do one thing and not really know a lot about the way that it works. So a couple of his tools that were just basically so simple, anyone could just type something in and use it, began to be abused by bots. So we did a Nullbyte video on this that was super popular because it allows people to basically take a small amount of information and use some of these tools to just punch it in and find a bunch more. And these are generally things that are actually scripted searches through a bunch of different other websites that do searching functions. Now, Mike Bazell got a ton of requests from the web host to basically shut down his entire website unless he removed these tools, because people were building their own tools. They were basically hooking into the tools he'd provided and just flooding them with traffic. Some of it was also malicious traffic. So overall, the web host was just getting inundated with stuff, didn't want to deal with it anymore, saw him as like a problematic customer, and was basically going to cut off his ability to even have these tools available at all. So this has led to a bunch of different things. One is the takedown of Buscador, which is a fantastic virtual machine that allows you, or allows investigators or other people who might not be super tech savvy to get up and running and start using some OSINT tools that there's great trainings for. So when I was in Norway teaching journalists how to kind of start their second career in journalism using these OSINT tools and really dig into investigations that they might not have had the tools to deal with before, what they loved was that there was an operating system they could just plug in, open up, and there wasn't a lot of configuration there. They were able to get started, and they were able to supercharge their jobs as journalists. That was great. Now, the new version of his training actually has you building a virtual machine from scratch. I haven't been through this yet, but I'm already...
That sounds intense.
Well, I mean, he does a good job of like breaking down the steps, but the document is like this long. And for someone who's like 50 years old, they've been a journalist for a very long time. They're just trying to learn these tools. Like, I just don't feel like that's the best experience for getting into OSINT for them. And I really, really enjoyed like watching them realize that this stuff was within their grasp and want to learn more about it. They were getting into command line. They were getting into, being able to run these tools the way they were intended to be run. And I really found that Buscador was like a big hook for people who were just getting into OSINT. So the fact that the automated tools have been taken down and the Buscador operating system has been taken down, I feel is a big blow for the OSINT community. But also you have to admit, like, when anybody can use these tools, there is the potential for abuse. And being the person putting all that stuff out there, like, after a while, it just might not seem to make sense to you to continue hosting those tools if it's threatening your ability to do your
One
work.
could argue that you could make them open source available on GitHub and just let people host the tools themselves.
Yeah, but I mean, when they're also a part of your livelihood, like your
Right,
training and stuff,
right.
and the culmination of your work, it's like, do I want to give this stuff away for free? It's like, I don't want to restrict it. So like Mike has been trying to be like a really good guy for a long time and make these tools available to the public. But when they threaten his livelihood, that's when they get taken down.
Yeah. So quick question, how do those tools compare to something like Maltego?
So Maltego is a purpose-built OSINT platform that allows you to use transforms that other people build to draw in data and build your own thing. This is literally just scraping websites that do people searches and like organizing them into a way that a normal person can do 15 searches just by typing in one piece of information. And it's just a little bit of making things easier that people really like, but unfortunately they liked it too much and it caused a problem.
Yeah. So next question?
Yeah.
Okay, hi Kody. I saw your tweet hitting 600K on YouTube. Congrats. Any tips to a new YouTube channel on achieving goals like that in the future?
Yeah, so we get a lot of hacking questions, but we also get some questions about the shows that we manage. So I started the Nullbyte channel, I think like 3 years ago. No, I think it's like 2.5 years ago. It was like surprisingly not that long ago. And it's already grown to 600,000 subscribers, and we didn't do any advertising to begin with. Like, this was all kind of stuff that we grew from the start. Now, there was definitely some influence from the Nullbyte community, so there was already some people that were active on the Nullbyte website that kind of came over. But when we did the analytics, the vast majority of people were finding us independently from there. So for a new YouTube channel that's trying to do something differently, we took a look at everyone that we thought was a really good channel that was doing something we thought we wanted to do. And we made lists of the stuff that we thought they did excellently and the stuff that we thought they could have done better. And then we watched a lot of videos of people explaining their production process and project management, because we come from a background of never take on a project if it's going to become a a mess. It's just, if it looks like it's going to be too much work, we won't do it.
Yeah.
So we looked very carefully at formats that we could do based on what other people were doing that we liked, that we thought was great. And then we made sure we never took on a format that we couldn't do multiple of in one day.
Yeah.
So that was like a big breaking point for us.
And something that I really stress too is take your niche, analyze your niche, and figure out what can set your channel apart in that niche. For example, when I was first doing the analysis of like the hacking videos out there, you can quickly discover a lot of those are like poor audio quality, don't show a person's face. If they speak English, it's like it's not well
very
polished.
Understandable or subtitled properly.
Right. So like one of the things I really stressed when we were first starting out is having someone's face, like having a persona for the YouTube channel, making sure you have good audio quality, and then video quality. And of the two, I say audio quality is better because that's throughout the video.
Yes.
And also people tend to like go to other tabs and other stuff while they're watching these videos. So make sure your audio quality is like on point.
That's one thing I'm gonna say. If you have like a smartphone and you're just like, I want to start doing video, where should I spend my money? You should spend it on audio and lights. You've already probably got the camera angle down. Like if you go and buy like a nice digital SLR, you're like, cool, I can be a photographer, and then you find out that it can only record for 20 minutes before it overheats. You're gonna be like, why? I have a cell phone that is better than this. Like, why didn't I just use that? It's better to use your smartphone to create a ton of content with great lighting and excellent audio than it is to buy a bunch of equipment and be obsessed with like video quality, because no one cares. Like most people are watching it on a mobile device or on another tab for a quarter of the time anyway. So audio is super important. Making sure
don't record it with a potato, right?
Yeah.
Like video is still important, but second.
Yeah. So the last thing I would say is consistency of content. So by that I mean frequency and format. So if you are just making random stuff all the time, like you might happen on something that works, but people are going to be confused and they're not going to follow you because they have no idea if they're going to like or not like what you're producing. If you produce generally the same kind of stuff, then, or at least the same format of stuff, then people can decide if they like it or not. And if they really like it, then they can subscribe and be like fans. And if they just kind of casually like it, it's easy to kick back and watch it and either let it grow on you or unsubscribe.
Right.
But if you're doing something that's just wildly different every single time, so much so that the format doesn't even look the same, it's really hard to grow subscribers. And I've looked at a lot of like legacy like brand channels where they just put up anything because there's a ton of different owners of the YouTube channel and they all publish whatever. And you'll see that kind of fragmentation makes it impossible to grow a YouTube channel. So decide on what kind of content you want to produce. Produce like similar content to that format, and then produce it regularly enough that you get people to expect new content every week. Yeah. If you can do that, then I think that you will find, even without advertising, that your channel will grow really quickly.
Yeah. And I mean, some of that seed advertising is pretty important. Like you need to reach I think it's about 2,000 subscribers right now before you really get promoted organically by YouTube. So there is some stuff you need to do there, like, go and self-promote on Reddit and other hacking forums and stuff, as long as it's within the rules of those forums to get your initial subscribers.
Let's take a question from the chat, actually, if we could switch back to my screen.
Oh, sure.
So we have a question. First, I access the dark web, but I don't know what to do. I think you know what to do on the dark web. I'm not going to say. Ultimate freedom of speech. Yeah. So the other actual question was, can we freelance using hacking skills like red teaming and platform, which can help to gather mates? I don't understand the last part, but the first part...
Bug crowd and stuff.
Yeah, so if you're a young hacker, or if you're a new hacker, or you're just getting into hacking, and you're finding it difficult to make the transition between your job, or like no cybersecurity experience whatsoever, and jumping into a job where you're like full-time cybersecurity, bug bounty programs are a really good way to do this. A lot of students, a lot of other people that are learning about this stuff are able to get involved in these and learn the basics and be able to start turning in bug bounties. Now, are you going to be able to live off of that? No, not initially.
I mean, there's like a 17 or 18-year-old who's multimillionaire now because of that, but that is not the norm.
Yeah, sorry. Like the dream of capitalism, just because one guy made $1 billion doesn't mean,
right, exactly.
like you're in the position to do so as well. But really what it is if you're able to start making some freelance money, maybe it's just a couple $100, doing something you really like while you're basically training. It's like being paid to be in school, basically. Yeah. So you can also, as soon as you go for your first cybersecurity job, say, hey, I've been a bug bounty, I've been turning this many bug bounties, I've been working with BugCrowd or HackerOne, aka Hackeroni, and I have a background in looking for this sort of thing, and I'm proactive in it. I'm known in the community. That kind of background takes you from an unknown person with no cybersecurity background that's maybe worked in some other industry to somebody who's obviously passionate about it and been coming up in the the ranks of like experience.
And so. I'm no bug bounty expert, but from what I understand from some of those that are a little more professional in it, is they recommend just find something that you're interested in, like a certain aspect of security, and really dig deep into that, research it more and more, and as you're researching that, you'll be able to look at websites for that particular type of vulnerability, and you're going to be finding a lot more and be a lot more successful than someone that goes out there and just does the same old like default scan that everyone else is running.
Yes. That being said, nobody likes a free pen test if they don't know about it.
Right.
So
No,
I need
always
to be
bug bounty
very
program.
clear
Yeah.
to like young hackers. And actually, can I make this window bigger? I want to. Yeah, I'm going to zoom in. So yeah, if you are just getting into hacking and you find a vulnerability, I know, I just like doing this. It's soothing. So yeah, if you're just getting into hacking and you find a vulnerability and you're not sure about how to turn it in, it's a good idea to really think about it or defer to someone who does this professionally, a bug bounty program, something like that. A lot of companies do not react well to being told that they're doing something wrong, especially if there's no financial incentive to fix it. And if you don't understand how a business works, then you're going to have a hard time explaining to them why it's critical for them to fix this. And going nuclear on them, disclosing the bug like publicly, or doing other things that aren't considered responsible can seriously taint your reputation as a researcher before you even get started. So responsible disclosure is a big, long topic to discuss. But if you're young, if you don't have a reputation already as being a member of the security community, if you're not sure how to do it, work with a bug bounty program. They'll teach you the ways to actually do this, and they'll make sure that you are safe while you're doing it. I've heard lots of stories of people who are trying to turn in bugs who get misinterpreted by the company they're trying to turn in bugs to, and they have the FBI called on them because the company thinks they're threatening them. So it's really important that as you are trying to get into cybersecurity, you make sure that anything you find, you turn in responsibly and you know the right way to do that, because there's lots of people who try to do the right thing, get misinterpreted, and then end up in trouble.
Well, and that's why I recommend like BugCrowd or HackerOne or whatever, because those have that all figured out for you. Just use their platform, follow their rules, and you're going to be mostly safe there.
Yeah, that being said, I've heard there's things that are frustrating with working with bug bounty programs as well. Sometimes your things will get marked as duplicate, but they won't fix it months later, kind of implying that it wasn't actually a duplicate and you're just not getting the money you were supposed to get. Sometimes you'll get companies that will pay you for the bug bounty and never fix the problem. So like sometimes it is still frustrating as a researcher, but at least you don't get the FBI calling you and asking why you're trying to blackmail this business when you're just trying to do the right thing.
Yeah. Okay. Do we want to go?
The next question. All right, so we get this question a lot. I would like to know how to choose a Wi-Fi adapter or whatever I need to start using my skills in Kali Linux. So if you want to get into Wi-Fi hacking, then you need to make sure you have a compatible wireless network adapter. And we have a lot of different videos and resources on how to check this and how to do this. But basically what it means is Kali Linux is able to work with a variety of different chipsets for these wireless network adapters natively. So you plug it in, it instantly recognizes it, the drivers are all there, it's good to go. There's a couple different brands that have a lot of products that all seem to be supported well by Kali Linux, and there are even some brands that care about this enough that they even set up a specific section on their website to tell you which one of their products are compatible with Kali Linux. So if you really just want the simplest answer here, go to Alpha Wireless, and on their website they have a list of products that are compatible with Kali Linux. We've tested almost all of them, and all the ones we've tested have worked fantastically. So, and they seem to also really care about the community. So if you want to grab a wireless network adapter that's going to work for sure with Kali Linux, check out the ones listed on Alpha Wireless, and you'll find that a lot of those are just perfectly great. Now, if you want to dig in deeper and start doing some random stuff on Amazon, or figure out if one that you already have is compatible with Kali Linux, that's a lot less easy. You need to basically look up the model and find out what the chipset is. So what the actual chip is that's inside of it, and then find out if Kali Linux plays nice with that chipset. If it does, then the wireless network adapter is probably going to be compatible with Kali Linux and you're good. If it's not, then you're probably going to be in for a struggle. It might not work at all, and at a minimum, you're going to have to install some drivers manually. Now, you'll also find that some of the newer 5 gigahertz wireless network adapters do require you to install some drivers, so that is a little bit of an extra hassle. But once you get that done, they do work, although some of them require a slightly modified command in order to get them to do what they're supposed to do. So I would say that if you want to dig into all of this and you want to see which chipsets are compatible with Kali Linux, I wrote, I think, a pretty good Nullbyte article on it a couple years ago, and that should still be mostly true about which ones are natively supported.
Supposed to be updated soon.
Which is supposed to be updated soon. But generally, you'll find the same chipsets tend to be compatible, and our top 2 favorite brands are Alpha Wireless and Panda Wireless. So if you want to check those out, they tend to have chipsets that are very well supported, and most of their lines tend to work in Kali Linux.
Cool. Next question. Hello, sir. I want to make my career as an ethical hacker. I have like 1 year experience in web app pen testing. Could you point towards some resources I could go through?
Yeah. So generally, if you have just started ethical hacking and you maybe have a bit of a background in web application stuff, my kind of push would be go towards networking. Like take a look at maybe some online networking classes. Maybe get your maybe get a certificate for networking, because networking I think is one of the most valuable skills to have when it comes to being a hacker, like working in a kind of a general security setting, because networking is a universal problem. It's everywhere. It's involved in almost every product. And it's just something that people have to deal with all the time. And it's kind of a common point of failure for a lot of security issues. So networking is a really good place to go if you have a little bit of experience and you're looking to gain some more. It sounds like you probably already know about bug bounty programs at that point if you have some experience working as a web application pen tester. So yeah, I would just recommend expanding your skills, maybe getting some certificates that demonstrate you can go a bit beyond just application pen testing. But if you really want to dig into application pen testing, then there's a lot of great stuff from OWASP that is very focused on application penetration testing. I don't do a lot of that myself. I'm much more focused on wireless stuff. But I know that for people that are interested, OWASP is a really good resource for that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Let us know, though, if y'all want a more detailed live stream on certificates, because that's an idea I've been thinking about for a while, is doing a whole live stream on all the different certificates, which ones are most valuable, why you might want to go for one first over another.
We have another question. Pass playing with common VMs, how would you recommend breaking into web app security? So that's a really good question, and it kind of leads into, well, ties back to what we just mentioned. But yeah, so everybody knows about damn vulnerable VMs or ways of setting up an application that's going to be deliberately vulnerable. So people have heard of the OWASP Juice Shop and stuff like that. So if you haven't heard of the OWASP Juice Shop, that is a good place to start. And we also, our friend Ian made a really good, I think he made a video or at least an article on how to get through that. So if it's your first time, you can go there. Now, beyond that, I would say the best way to do it is being paid for it. Like having a variety of different experiences and trying out your skills against different types of websites, different configurations, different vulnerabilities. The real world experience is really the best way you can do it. So if you can get accepted by, a bug bounty program, if you're not in it for the cash, you're just in it for the experience, it's a lot more fun. If you go in thinking you're going to be a millionaire, it's a lot less fun.
Yeah.
But I would say once you have some real world experience under your belt, it really helps to be able to say, I've done this in the real world versus, I've tried against some common vulnerable VMs. If you're really good at them, if you're finding that it's pretty easy for you to get through them, then it's probably time to take the step up to working on real world problems, because you'll find a lot of weird snarls and other stuff you didn't know that you have to Google for hours in order to figure out. And that's the kind of learning that really, really helps you move from the theoretical into the practical when it comes to pen testing.
Cool. Do we want to go back to the Twitter question?
Yeah.
Hey, I have an idea for you. I thought you should make a video about good and legal ways to learn ethical hacking. One of these ways could be using CTFs. There's such sites as Vulnhub, Hack5, TryHackMe, etc.
Yeah, so this is not so much a question, but as just a list of great resources.
Yeah.
So thank you to this person for their message, because a lot of these I've heard about before, but I haven't actually tried. These are great resources for people who want to try out something where if they can't figure out what is wrong or they can't figure out what they're doing wrong, there's walkthroughs, there's guides, there's other things. Obviously, you don't want to cheat, but if you want to actually test your skills and then be able to get the feedback to know, what you did wrong or what the best way to do this stuff would be, that's a great way to get started with it. Oh, I also have a question here that I like. All right, so what do you recommend as a starter kit for a computer whiz kid age 9?
Raspberry Pi. Honestly, that's the most affordable thing. It's easy to start off with. If you mess it up, you're out $35. I mean, as you get older, then you can probably convince your parents to get you a better laptop, something like the Dell XPS 15. But those are really $1,000+ dollars. So if I'm just starting out, like Raspberry Pi, you have so many different programs and images you can run on it. You can do security stuff when you're interested in that, and then turn it into a retro Pi to play video games on at night. Like, it's got so much versatility to it, and it's cheap enough that even the most frugal parent can be convinced to buy it.
Yeah. Okay, so I am going to pick something different, but I do support the Raspberry Pi. It will grow with you. You can pop in a different SD card and run a different operating system, so it's everything full. Then they can pop in like a different, a different SD card, and suddenly they're doing scientific experiments in, Raspbian, and then they pop in a different SD card, and they're hacking stuff in Kali Linux. Like, the Raspberry Pi is a really versatile tool. It teaches kids about computers, and it really makes them feel like it's their computer. They have total control over it. So I really recommend a Raspberry Pi for getting that kind of computer experience in. Now, my pick would probably actually be an ESP8266 based development board like the D1 Mini, and like a MicroPython kit. So Adafruit also has some stuff that's already set up. So if you just want like a product, I would recommend like any sort of MicroPython kit, especially one that involves Wi-Fi. Although actually, I think Adafruit is CircuitPython. Either way, CircuitPython, MicroPython, they're kind of the same. But getting into hardware, learning how to program in Arduino, and especially being able to, set up lights, like being able to make your own decorations, like making a strip of lights do exactly what you want it to do. Like, kids really like this stuff. I thought it was amazing, and it got me much more into hardware to realize that, I could tell this computer what to do and it would make this beautiful light display based on something I decided. Like, that was very empowering for me. So if your kid is anywhere the same, where maybe they like programming a little bit, then I think that they'd really enjoy an Arduino based development kit, like something for MicroPython. Other thing is, sometimes languages like Arduino, although they are designed to be simple, end up being a little more complicated than kids are super comfortable with. But I know some kids who are learning Python at like a very young age. So MicroPython is a super easy way for kids to get started, programming hardware, because the commands are very, very simple and intuitive and easy to remember. So,
cool.
Oh, and to the guy who asked if these are live or pre-recorded, I'm responding to your question, so.
Hi, Kody. What's the music you use in your intro of your videos?
We get that question a lot. So this is for the Nullbyte video intro. We are using this thing that I literally typed in like cyberpunk something.
I have the answer, but it's stored in my default responses on YouTube. So, I mean, I can look it up real quick.
Yeah, I literally
get back to you.
Yeah, it's like a cyberpunk mix, and it's like the first song in it. And the reason I like it is because it's one of the opening scenes from Ghost in the Shell. So that's the song we use. I'm sure Michael will find it in a second.
Actually, I will put it in the comments of this video because I don't want to change YouTube channels while we're actually live streaming.
Okay. All right. But yeah, so I'll try to find that because I actually really like that song. What's the next question?
Hi, Kody. Love your videos. Could you make one on creating a proper Fox identity for OSINT?
Faux,
yeah.
We're not making
some of us aren't
We're not
French.
making a persona.
Yeah.
We'll talk about our Fox online persona later.
Yes, our Fox persona.
All right, so this is a question for doing OSINT research. So let's say that you're going to use a social media website like Facebook. Now, Facebook doesn't let you do anything unless you sign up for, like all sorts of stuff. So you have to be registered, you have to put in this information, you have to verify your phone number, blah, blah, blah. It sucks. So there's a lot of people who create like a SOC account in order to do this research. And the best advice I can really give you is, use common sense, but also use things like VPNs and like throwaway numbers, because if you use common details, like it only takes one piece of data to lead back to you. And I've personally observed tools that investigators use that are available to the public that are able to take breached data and find out information about a person. So I can basically look at, like, let's say you use the same password for your stupid SOC account as you do for all your other. There's a search available today to look at breached passwords and say this account and this account had the exact same breached password.
And like, if you're using a more secure password, which is less common, then that makes it just more likely that I'm gonna actually be able to match. Because like, if it's like password 123, that millions of accounts, you'll use that.
So I can pay for this stuff
Yeah.
and find out this information. So if you're slipping up, if you're doing things like not using a VPN when you create your stock account, maybe registering
Yeah.
it with the same phone number, this is public data because the data is breach, and there's companies in the United States that slurp up this data and offer it up to investigators to be like, oh no, this company lost
Yeah.
data. Here's what it was. Like, oops, we found it on the
Yeah,
internet.
I don't know how deep down the rabbit hole you want to go, and this may be a little overkill, but that's why I recommend like a burner phone or a burner laptop, like a cheap device that you can just have that whole persona on, because it makes it far less likely that you're going to slip up and accidentally log it into your wrong Facebook account. Like I even know with Twitter and like managing multiple accounts on Twitter, like it's very common for me to start to type a response and accidentally realize, oh wait, I'm logged in as the wrong user here. I can't, comment that right now. So having a whole burner device where you only use that one persona can be a good way to mitigate those problems. And also if that device became compromised or whatever, it wouldn't show your real identity in theory. So
let's go ahead and switch over to the chat. We have a couple good questions. So in the last session, you showed us how to encrypt documents, which is the favorite ransomware technique. Now, can you show us how to decrypt it? I absolutely can, but it's going to cost you 100 Bitcoins, my friend.
oh my god.
Sorry, it is what it is. I got the data, you don't. What are you going to do?
Yeah, at least for my Python program, that was literally just changing one line of text. And I had that demonstrated. I don't know if Kody's actually was capable of decrypting itself.
Well, because I actually used asymmetric encryption, it wasn't possible to decrypt anything on the system without the master encryption key or the private key. So for Michael's ransomware, of course, if you reversed it enough, you probably could have figured out what the key is and just unrolled the whole thing. So there's a lot of ransomware
It was
written
all in
by
memory. Nothing was stored on the system.
Okay, so there's a lot of ransomware like written by children or people who are not very good at ransomware that just like have the key
See the way he treats me?
in the ransomware, or at least like they have like a seed for a key that makes it like a pseudo random number generator, so it's like the same every time. So there's not that many keys it could be. So there's some ransomware that's just basically includes a key or the method to generate the key in the ransomware somewhere. So if you reverse it, you can actually get the data back. So this is a very common technique for people that have been hit by ransomware. They're like, well, we messed up. Like, what are our options? If you get hit with like crappy ransomware, then you might be able to have a forensic expert come in, examine it, and find out how the key is generated. And then if it's a symmetric key that's on the actual device, they're like, oh, well, don't give them anything. Now, if you got hit with my ransomware, you would be in more trouble because there isn't anything on the system that's able to decrypt what's there. It relies on the hacker's private key to decrypt the entire thing. So even if the public key is out there, you're still not going to be able to get the data that's encrypted with it. So so it depends on what type of encryption was used, obviously, on your files. But if it's asymmetric encryption where the private key has never left, the hacker's stronghold, then the odds of being able to decrypt it are none, basically. So unless you have a very, very long time. So basically what Michael and I demonstrated last time was just some basic ways that malware could behave if it was designed to be ransomware. But actual sophisticated threat actors are much, much better at this and have ways of hiding their tracks and making sure the keys are generated in a secure fashion. I was just exfiltrating my encrypted keys via like a Grabify track. Oh no, it was a Canary Tokens tracking link, which was pretty cool. But actual threat actors would have more sophisticated ways of extracting their keys and hiding the way they were generating all their stuff.
Right. Okay, do we want to go back to the Twitter?
Yeah.
Oh. That wasn't one.
Whoa, this is the big one.
Yeah, you get this one.
Sup, man? Just saw this video on YouTube, and I'll be honest, I'm not all that tech savvy, or even know how to set up a Raspberry, but I would like to have my own comms for grid down or scenario.
SHTF.
I know what that means.
Yeah.
And my question is, can I just buy one with everything pre-installed already without me having to set up all these crazy matrix code? Lol.
I do know that there are some, like, it is actually pretty common for Raspberry Pis to be sold as, like, commercial product, just repackaged. I don't, like, when you say comms, is he like talking about like the Raspberry, the Pirate Box video?
No. So there are some products out there that at their very core have a Raspberry Pi, and these are things that are designed for like reporters in Syria and or like human rights organizations that are in areas that have no grid communications and they're operating off of a generator. And these are designed to be like long distance radio links or like other things that are very, very proprietary. Now you'll find that if you want to spend like $1,200, you're gonna get like, you know, like a $60 computer in the center of it, hooked up to a bunch of expensive nonsense, running like, you know, like some sort of firmware that's closed source. So yes, the answer is yes. You can totally buy a product that's based on the Raspberry Pi that's set up for a specific purpose. The point of a Raspberry Pi is that you can configure it yourself, and that it's easy for people who like to do that and don't see it as work, but more as like how to get something that's exactly what they want, or like at least customize it so they don't have to spend so much money. That's usually the allure. But if you're not that guy, if you're not a savvy, then in that case, you might want to just, you know, buy the product.
Yeah, what I was gonna say is I would actually look more at commercial products if you're not that savvy. There's Savvy. There's Gotenna, which is like a UHF off-grid mesh network that allows you to connect it to your phone via Bluetooth and then just text and so forth using that network. There's also things like the Garmin InReach, which are going to use satellite. Depending on what your threat model for SHTF is, that may or may not fit in. But like if you're hiking and you need to use satellite communication to get rescued or something, then
I don't think this dude was trying to use the Raspberry Pi to contact the government. But
exactly. Right, that's why I was saying it depends on your threat model. But
let's go back to the chat for a second.
Okay.
What is your opinion of the presentation of the new Hak5 Pineapple? Okay, so I work for Hak5, so I'm very limited in what I can say officially, but I will say that I thought I was watching a trailer for the next Inception movie initially. And aside from that, I haven't gotten one yet, so I haven't seen the full like reveal. I just saw the teaser, and then I'm in like a group chat with everyone from Hak5, so I already know about it. So I'm waiting to get mine. I'm really excited about it, and as soon as I have it, I will try to bring on the show and show you guys if you're interested. Yeah, I just thought there was a lot of very low-pitched sounds. All right.
Ooh. Okay. We already did this one. You mentioned network adapter, but can I just work with my laptop Wi-Fi?
So I'm very fortunate in that this random Linux computer that I brought, not this one, but my other Linux computer I use on the show, happens to support the internal wireless network adapter happens to support Kali Linux perfectly. It's actually a really good wireless network adapter, and it's just built in. You will either get lucky or you won't. If you have a MacBook Pro, you have not gotten lucky. I'm sorry. But if you have a PC, then you could still be lucky. So I find that in particular ThinkPads tend to have wireless network adapters that tend to be pretty well supported. That's what I've had experience with mostly. I've also had some experience with Dell computers and Lenovo computers that have built-in wireless network adapters that support Kali Linux. All that's great, but you don't really know until you actually try it. So the best way to try it is, segment off a portion of your hard drive as a separate partition, install Kali Linux in a very minimal way, and then just run it and try to put your native card into wireless monitor mode. If you can see networks after you put it into wireless monitor mode, you're good to go. If you can't, it probably doesn't support Kali Linux by default.
Two other things I would recommend is just look up the laptop spec sheet. You should be able to find what Wi-Fi card is in place, and then you should be able to check that chipset to see if there's drivers for it that are compatible with Kali Linux. Additionally, if you just don't want the hassle of carrying around the adapter and you're prepared to perform computer surgery, you could always just buy an internal Wi-Fi card that is Wi-Fi compatible and swap it out for the one. And it's usually no harder than it would be to replace memory or something like that. So it's not super technical, but you're risking some stuff. So
yeah, it's like if you got a computer, especially if it's like a little bit old, that has a card that doesn't support Kali.
Yeah.
I just bought like a different ThinkPad for like $150, like $200 that like is a little bit older, but I knew did, and it's still got just enough, more than enough power to run Kali Linux. It's obviously more expensive than just getting your own wireless network adapter that's external, but it's much more subtle, I find, to have a computer that supports all this internally. There's no chance of breaking it. So, and there's no chance of losing it either, because if it's in some other bag, you need it, you know. So I like having a computer that by default supports Kali Linux with its internal wireless card. I just think it's an advantage if you can do it. If not, it's not a big deal.
Cool. Next question. I'm a total beginner in this topic. Sorry for the basic question. What did you study?
Oh yeah, so
I'm
this is the
assuming
same
in
guy as the
school.
last one, yeah.
Yeah.
In school, I originally studied biochemistry. I decided that I hated biology and I didn't like math. So I then went and did security. I didn't study that, but I did get a bunch of certifications in it and did a bunch of trainings in it. After security and photography, which I did professionally for a while, I got into startups. So I informally was studying business for about 3 years and worked at some really high pressure, really crazy startups that in the tech sector in Los Angeles. And then after that, I decided I wanted to go back to school for computer science, but quickly realized I was just as interested in networking and just basically like engineering, I guess. So specifically electrical engineering. So the last classes I took before everything got harder to to actually attend were in electrical engineering, and I've been focusing on kind of more maker stuff like since I've gotten the opportunity to meet more people. So I find school was really interesting for me because once I started getting out there and meeting people, I found more people who were like myself in electrical engineering that I really anticipated, and it made me kind of open up to some possibilities that I was like, I want to do computer science, and I was like, nah, these nerds are boring. These electrical engineering people are cool though. Like, so not saying that computer science isn't fun and sexy. I have lots of computer science friends, but I will say the engineers are a great bunch, and I've tended to bond a lot more with makers since I've gone back to school. So that's what I went to school for.
Oh, okay. You asked me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I started off in aerospace technology in school, and I studied that for a while, and then got into cybersecurity as I was doing various projects. Aerospace technology involved a lot of different classes, some of which were computer science classes. And as I started those computer science classes, I was learning Python, and I was like, oh, here, I'll, try to do some various fun things with Python that were kind of hackery. And then I discovered I kind of liked that a little more and went to some conferences, and next thing you know, I'm here being a video producer on a live stream.
A very linear path.
Yeah, straight shot. Mapped it out years in advance. Okay, next question. This is a twofer.
Yeah.
You wanna...
So this question is, I was just wondering, how can I start contributing videos to the Nullbyte YouTube channel? Is there a certain criteria I have to follow, or what's the process? Thanks in regards. Wow. Okay, so the YouTube channel that is officially the Nullbyte channel is run by our company, both me and Michael's. We are both in charge of the company. And we started this company because we needed a production team as well as a pool of talent to start making these videos on a bigger scale. Yeah. So we started out with other writers at Nullbyte that I had hired back when I was the editor there, and we started, finding the ones that were the most comfortable presenting and putting them in positions where they were presenting for local community colleges, for nonprofits, and we got them to the point where they were pretty comfortable doing this. And we now have a group of a good amount of like 4 or 5 people who have appeared on camera, who are presenters that are into cybersecurity, that are into computer science, that all have different backgrounds and different experiences. There's Michael, there's Nick who's been on the show, there's Tim, there's Christian, there's Brandon, there's Ian. We have lots of people who contribute with us, and these are all people that we've kind of come up through cybersecurity with. And work with a lot. So right now we don't have a format for people to be able to just like submit a video and have it appear on Nullbyte because we're a production company. We like to know the people we're working with, and also even like for us managing our production team in Los Angeles versus our local production team here where we are, not in Los Angeles, is a headache. And we know these people, we've worked with them, for over like a year and a half.
Project management is so fun.
Yeah, so imagine trying to work with a bunch of people we don't know who like aren't using the same stuff, that haven't gone through the same standards. It's just as a production team, like very hard for us to imagine like somebody contributing videos that like we could easily cut together and like have look the same as the other Nullbyte videos.
Quality control on our own end is hard enough, much less like dealing with people who have different cameras, different audio setups, setups, different lighting setups, like
Exactly.
can
So we have some people that we are bringing up currently. So we've worked with a young hacker named Alex Lynn in Orange County, who's fantastic. He has his own YouTube channel, and we're currently kind of onboarding him to start working with us, and you might see him appear in some of our channels soon. But aside from that, we're mostly focused on just trying to get more content out there and scale it. So, thank you for your interest. And if you actually have any ideas, or if you have recorded a video, send it to us. I mean, we'll definitely watch it.
Yeah.
Always open for possibilities, just explaining kind of where we came from and how we know each other.
Okay. Are you good at bug bounty hunting?
I have
No.
0 bug bounties. So I am not a web application pen tester. I am a wireless pen tester. So I like soaking up signals intelligence. I use it for OSINT. I use it for pen testing. I use it for like traditional like kill chain stuff. But I kind of stop at the point when I get full network access and I start doing like specific bad stuff in there. That after that, it's like above my pay grade. I don't really do it. Like I'm much more focused on like entry and escalation. So I'm this is not something I really do. Now I'm aware that there are, like Bugcrowd does like their bug bash stuff where they'll have like an IoT device, and then maybe I could come in and take a crack at the Wi-Fi and see if it's vulnerable there. So there are opportunities out there for people who are more into hardware hacking or signals hacking like myself. But I find that if you're a web application pen tester, you just have way more of an opportunity to get your
There's way
your
more
hands
web
dirty.
apps out there that are easily available to test.
Yeah.
Sure.
So if you have any questions about bug bounty stuff, if you have any questions about web application penetration, I'm not the best person for it, but I do know a lot of people who are really good at it. So.
Yeah, and so the next question might have to be our final question.
We have some. Let's switch back to the chat. All right, so what are must-have devices for hackers, and what's the pen drive code to steal passwords? Pen drive code thing to steal passwords?
Wi-Fi duck or USB rubber ducky, I believe is what they're
Oh,
talking
okay.
about.
Yeah. Okay, so if you're a hacker and you're just looking for some devices to buy, we actually do like around Christmas time or such. Like we usually do like a hacker's buying guide of like stuff we think is cool.
I didn't do it last year, but I've done that 2 years in a row on Nullbyte. So if you look back, you can probably just Google like Nullbyte Hackers Buying Guide. But it also, if you go to my profile, Hoyd, and look back through there around December, you should be able to find them. Generally, things I like are like SDRs, software-defined radios, really cool for monitoring wireless signals if you're into
The
that.
RTL SDR is my favorite one.
Yeah.
If you're in the market for just getting into soaking up wireless signals, like I personally like plugged in an RTL SDR. I was playing with it on my first day, and I was like, wow, that's a lot of radio chatter. Wonder what this was. And it was a huge wildfire that nobody had reported on yet that was near my house. So like I've had some experiences with software-defined radio that firmly made me believe that having one is a really cool and really good idea. So an RTL SDR.
Wi-Fi adapter is another common one.
Yep, I would say if you already have a wireless network adapter, then try getting one with a swappable antenna and get a directional antenna.
Yeah,
doing signal finding and doing long-range stuff is a whole new world when it comes to Wi-Fi hacking. So if you're already a little bit experienced with Wi-Fi hacking, I highly recommend maybe getting like a simple Wi-Fi Yagi antenna and like a wireless network adapter that lets you plug into it, and then just like trying out hunting down signals or like how far of range you can get. We did a lot of experiments with this in the Los Angeles area where we were like measuring signals out to like 3 to 5 miles away. So it's really incredible what you can pull off with these relatively cheap devices. And then I would also say of the stuff that's coming out, of course, we have to say Hak5 devices are great, and there's a bunch of new ones that have come out. But if you're really wanting to get into something new, you threw me on the SDR. That's actually a really good idea.
Yeah. Also, along with the Yagi antenna, if you want to upgrade from their parabolic antenna.
A 3D printer. So my favorite thing since we started quarantine was you can sometimes find them for $250 Creality Ender 3, I think. And it is fantastic. I found that it is a really good way to get into something that I've never personally done before, and there's tons of files out there that you can modify, work with, change. So for hackers or people that like to create things, it's really fun doing something physical where you can take apart this device, it breaks, you have to figure out how it works, and by and large, you're able to do some pretty incredible stuff with it. So for me, like one of my favorite things I've gotten all year has been a 3D printer. Aside from that, an SDR is a good thing to start out with. You might want to check out the new Raspberry Pi if you have one of the older ones. So the Raspberry Pi 4 has finally gotten. I didn't quite go for the first generation because they had some power issues, but the next one that came out was pretty cool. I have one of those that I like a lot. So those would be my recommendations of things to check out. And of course, if you're looking for open source projects, our friend Stefan's Wi-Fi duck is really awesome, and we've done some trainings on that at various conferences we've been at. And the Wi-Fi Deauthor V3 has some really exciting, cool stuff you can do now. It's basically like a script, like the little microcontroller is like a scriptable Wi-Fi attack tool that you can get to do some really advanced, interesting stuff. So I would say, those are some cheap, cool projects you can start out on doing.
Yeah. I recommend some niche products on my guide, but like a Faraday bag if you're concerned about your phone leaking signals. For example, Kody has an attack where he can spoof access points and your phone will respond and it helps identify you. A Faraday bag would prevent your phone from communicating wirelessly at all. Some phones will continue to communicate even when they're put in airplane mode and stuff like that. So, depending on your level of paranoia, that might be something,
Oh my god. Okay,
if you want to be that guy.
No computer glasses. I'm sorry. Okay, away from that. Let's go back to the chat. Yeah. So in the chat, we have some good questions. What are the plans for this new channel, the streams to come, cyber weapons, OSINT, best Wi-Fi hacking techniques? So what are the plans for our channel? So we are going to start going, so currently the SecurityFWD channel is pre-recorded just a little bit before we go live. And then
some of them, like this one's live. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to answer. Okay.
Yeah.
So currently, the SecurityFWD channel is pre-recorded just a little bit before we go live, except when we do these live Q&As. Yeah. But we've been practicing this a lot, and our Wi-Fi is now a lot better. So in the future, we're planning on adding a new day where we just do Q&As. So we're probably going to do this on Wednesdays. So we'll be live on, Tuesdays. We'll be on the air Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays?
It's every other Wednesday.
Yeah.
So every Tuesday we go live, every Friday we go live, and then every other Wednesday we'll be going live. So we won't be going live next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after that. And then from there on out, it should be every other Wednesday we'll do the Q&A. For the foreseeable future, that seems to be the plan with this particular channel. Occasionally you'll see Kody on Nullbyte. However, that's predominantly Nick.
When Michael said live, he didn't mean live. We're not live on Tuesday or Friday. We're live on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay, so for...
Okay, yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
We pre-record, but then we air it live on Tuesday and Friday.
It's not really live, but it's pre-recorded.
Yeah.
But all right, so for the Nullbyte channel, we have a lot of new people that are coming in and making videos. These are people we've been bringing up and working with for a long time. So we're looking at expanding the show, getting more new people on, and just kind of increasing the frequency of the stuff, and also bringing in more original content. So we've been featuring a lot of the really high-performing articles on Nullbyte that haven't had a video accompanied with them, but we're looking at streamlining the process of doing completely new original research as well and adding more tools. So you can look forward to a lot more content on Nullbyte that is, how would I say it, based on newer tools or stuff that's just coming out as opposed to stuff that might have been out for a little bit longer. And then I think we have some new Hak5 episodes coming out. So that's really exciting. We haven't had access to a production crew since we moved from Los Angeles, in March. Yeah. So we are finally, well, except for Michael, he's our built-in production crew. So we're finally working with the new production crew here, and we're going to be able to start producing Hak5 episodes again. So if you are a fan of our Hak5 stuff, then you can look forward to some new content on Hak5 as well. So.
Yeah, it's a little harder to produce that with the pandemic going on when you want to get those live out and about shots. But yeah, so I think that's about all the time for the
No, we have another good question, and I'm not going to waste it. Does DNS spoofing only work on HTTP websites? No, it actually works on any website, but you'll get a fat warning if you end up at the wrong website if it is using HTTPS. So you don't get any warning if you're using an HTTP website. You're just like, here you go, this website's insecure, who knows? But if I spoof you away from the website you're intending to go and you end up on a wrong one, generally, if it's working correctly, whatever browser you are using should display a fat warning message and be like, stuff is going on, there could be hackers, it's illegal, and whatever. So you should see some sort of warning if you're using HTTPS. That's supposed to be the benefit of it. If you're using a VPN, and also if you're using a VPN and your DNS requests are going through it, then somebody trying to DNS spoof you can, go away.
Yeah.
So how do I get an internship / apprenticeship in pen testing / SOC or SOC? I've been having trouble getting companies to respond. How do I get into pen testing? I think that'll be our last question of the day. Yeah. But it's really hard to get into pen testing because it's a very active thing. It requires trust and it requires a bit of a background. Mm-hmm. So getting an internship obviously is a really good idea. And one of the ways I would recommend is, we mentioned this on another stream, but if you want to go to a conference and you want to talk to a specific company, a lot of companies will sponsor you to go to a conference, or at least the parts that have like the vendor presentations and stuff, and you can get in for free. You can get to talk to people there. Really getting some face time with people who are there is a good way to be able to get this started. And in the virtual conference world, I imagine it would work roughly the same way. You can reach out to a company and be like, hi, I'm super interested in your company and I really want to go to this conference. Like, I'd love to be able to attend and see like your guys' presentations and maybe talk to someone. A lot of people don't try that hard when they're trying to get a job. So if you're willing to put in the extra effort, employers really appreciate that. And you might get some no's, but it's worth trying, because getting a little bit of face time might also make you realize that you hate that company and that everyone there is rude. So it's good to know before you start, trying to work there really badly, that if you were to work there, you would hate it because the people are terrible. So getting a little bit of face time with people, trying to just let them know you're interested in, maybe a conference they're presenting at. Being active and just knowing what the company does. Like, these are all things will probably get you a bit more attention than if you're just like, let me break something.
Yeah. Okay. We're out of time.
Awesome.
For realsies this time.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving us your live questions. We really appreciate your guys' just engagement. It's a lot of fun for us to do these. And yeah, I think that we're going to start doing these more often because you guys have tons of great questions. We love just talking with our audience and getting to know you guys as well. So yeah, this is also completely spontaneous. We didn't really advertise this at all. So thank you everyone who just discovered that we were live today. We usually do a little bit more of a warning or schedule these events.
It'll be recorded on YouTube, so you can always watch it back or share it with your friends there as well, though.
Yep. And as always, a big shout out to Varonis for making this possible. If you want to check out some of the other free great resources Varonis has, we always recommend the AD PowerShell course, which is a great way for people who work with Active Directory to get started scripting in PowerShell. All right, Michael, thank you for your help today. Thank you everyone for your great questions, and we will see you next time. Bye.